Welcome to AfriGlobal 24, your trusted source for breaking news, deep insights, and stories shaping Africa and the world. Stay informed, stay connected, and experience the news that matters. Right here, 24/7. In international diplomacy, gestures often speak louder than words. And few gestures carry more weight than the granting or withholding of a visa. For nations, visas are not just travel documents. They are symbols of recognition, respect, and opportunity. They determine who gets to cross borders, who gets to build connections, and who gets to be part of the global conversation. That is why the recent decision by the United States of America to reverse its visa restrictions on Ghana has drawn attention across Africa, Washington, and the world. What does this reversal mean? Why did the restrictions exist in the first place? And how does this moment reshape the relationship between the world's most powerful democracy and one of Africa's most stable republics? The story begins not with cooperation, but with tension. In January 2019, the U.S. government imposed visa sanctions on Ghana. The reason? Washington accused Ghana of being uncooperative in taking back its citizens who had been ordered to be deported from the United States. The Department of Homeland Security claimed that Ghana was dragging its feet, refusing to accept chartered flights and delaying the issuance of travel documents. For America, this was a matter of immigration enforcement. For Ghana, it was a matter of dignity and procedure. The restrictions targeted specific groups, employees of Ghana's Foreign Affairs Ministry and their families. It was a sharp message from Washington to Accra: comply or pay the price. But Ghana did not back down. The government strongly rejected the allegations, arguing that the U.S. was unfairly blaming Ghana for challenges within its own immigration system. Officials in Accra insisted they had been cooperating, and they accused Washington of heavy-handedness. For ordinary Ghanaians, the sanctions were a blow. Ghana is a country with a vast diaspora in the United States: students, professionals, traders, and families with deep connections across the Atlantic. Visa restrictions, even targeted ones, cast a shadow over these relationships. The dispute threatened to strain one of Africa's most celebrated partnerships. Ghana, often praised as a beacon of democracy and stability, found itself locked in a diplomatic standoff with its longtime ally. To understand why this matters, one must understand Ghana's place on the world stage. Ghana is not just another country in West Africa. It was the first sub-Saharan African nation to gain independence in 1957, inspiring liberation movements across the continent. It has a proud tradition of democracy, with peaceful transitions of power and a vibrant civil society. Economically, Ghana is a rising force. With resources ranging from gold to cocoa to oil, it is a hub of trade and investment. Its capital, Accra, has become a center for international diplomacy, hosting summits, UN agencies, and foreign missions for the United States. Ghana has long been a strategic partner in security, trade, and development. From peacekeeping missions to counterterrorism cooperation, the relationship runs deep. That is why the visa restrictions struck such a discordant note. Fast forward to today, and the story has taken a different turn. The United States has reversed its visa restrictions on Ghana, signaling the end of a chapter marked by tension and mistrust. The decision reflects months, perhaps years, of behind-the-scenes negotiations. It suggests that both sides have found a way forward, that Ghana has provided the assurances Washington demanded, and that America has recognized Ghana's cooperation. For Ghanaian officials, the reversal is a diplomatic victory. It restores normalcy, eases anxieties, and reinforces the narrative of Ghana as a respected partner on the global stage. For the United States, it is a pragmatic move, one that repairs relations with a key ally in Africa at a time when global competition for influence on the continent is intensifying. This decision is about more than visas. It is about trust. It is about respect. And it is about the balance of power in a world where Africa's role is growing. For ordinary Ghanaians, it means renewed opportunities. Students can apply for scholarships without fear of stigma. Professionals can pursue business visas, and families can reconnect across borders. For the diaspora, it reaffirms that their homeland is not at odds with their adopted country. For policymakers, it signals that disputes can be resolved, that diplomacy still works, and that Ghana remains a partner worth investing in. The reversal also carries broader implications. Across Africa, nations have watched closely. Many countries face similar tensions with Western powers over immigration, deportation, and sovereignty. Ghana's ability to navigate this dispute without capitulation and still achieve a resolution sets an example. For the United States, it is also about credibility. At a time when rivals like China and Russia are expanding their presence in Africa, America cannot afford to alienate its allies. Reversing the restrictions on Ghana is a step toward rebuilding trust and demonstrating commitment to respectful partnerships. Ultimately, this moment feels like a reset, a chance to move forward. The question is, what will both countries do with it? Will the U.S. and Ghana deepen their cooperation in trade, security, and education? Will they use this as a springboard to strengthen ties in an era of shifting global alliances? Or will the memory of the sanctions linger, a reminder that even the closest partners can clash when interests diverge? The reversal of America's visa restrictions on Ghana is more than a policy change. It is a story of diplomacy, pride, and partnership. It is a reminder that even in a world of power imbalances, smaller nations can stand tall. And great powers can choose respect. As flights take off from Accra to New York, Washington, and beyond, the skies now carry not just travelers, but a renewed sense of possibility. This is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of a new chapter in U.S.-Ghana relations, one that could shape the future of Africa's engagement with the world. In the ever-changing landscape of international relations, few tools are as powerful or as personal as the visa. To the individual, a visa is a ticket to opportunity, study, work, or reunion with family. But in the realm of diplomacy, it is much more, a symbol of trust, a measure of respect, and sometimes a weapon of pressure. And in recent years, Ghana, one of Africa's most stable democracies, found itself on the receiving end of that weapon. The United States imposed visa restrictions, citing disagreements over immigration enforcement. The move strained ties, fueled resentment, and raised difficult questions about sovereignty and diplomacy. Today, that chapter has closed. The United States has reversed its visa restrictions on Ghana. What led to this reversal? Why does it matter? And what does it reveal about the future of U.S.-Africa relations in a world of shifting alliances? The roots of this diplomatic standoff stretch back to January 2019. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security accused Ghana of refusing to accept deportees, Ghanaian nationals living illegally in the United States who had been ordered to leave. The accusation was serious. Washington claimed that Ghana was delaying or refusing to issue travel documents needed for deportation flights. To the U.S., this was not only an administrative problem, but also a violation of international obligations. The Trump administration responded with a blunt instrument, visa sanctions. Under Section 243(d) of the Immigration and Nationality Act, the U.S. has the power to impose restrictions on countries that fail to cooperate on deportations. Ghana became a target. The restrictions were specific but symbolic. They applied to certain categories of visas, including those for Ghanaian government officials and their families. The message was clear: cooperate, or your privileged access will be cut. For Washington, it was leverage. For Accra, it was humiliation. Ghana did not accept the allegations quietly. The government, led at the time by President Nana Akufo-Addo, strongly denied that it was obstructing deportations. Officials insisted that Ghana had been cooperative but would not compromise on due process. Ghana's foreign ministry released sharp statements, accusing the United States of unfairly targeting the country. They pointed out that deportation cases often involve contested identities, disputed citizenship, or humanitarian concerns. Ghana, they argued, could not simply accept individuals without verifying their nationality. In Accra, the sanctions were seen not only as punitive but also as disrespectful, an insult to a nation that has long been considered a model democracy in Africa. The restrictions struck at Ghana's pride, raising questions about whether the United States valued its partnership. Ordinary Ghanaians felt the impact indirectly. Though the sanctions targeted officials, they symbolized a chilling of relations. For students aspiring to study in the U.S., for families with ties across the Atlantic, and for professionals seeking opportunities abroad, the news carried an undertone of uncertainty. The message to many was simple: the bond between Ghana and America was fraying. To understand why the sanctions hurt, one must understand Ghana's global identity. Since independence in 1957, Ghana has held a special place in African and world history. It was the first sub-Saharan African nation to break free from colonial rule, inspiring liberation movements across the continent. Politically, Ghana has been celebrated as a beacon of democracy. It has held multiple peaceful transitions of power, a rarity in the region. Economically, it is a growing hub, rich in gold, cocoa, and oil, and increasingly attractive to investors. Culturally, Ghana has become a global bridge. Its diaspora is vast and influential, stretching from New York to London to Toronto. The Year of Return initiative in 2019 drew thousands of African Americans and members of the diaspora to Ghana, reconnecting with ancestral roots and strengthening people-to-people ties. For the United States, Ghana has always been a trusted partner in peacekeeping, counterterrorism, education, and trade. That is why the visa restrictions were so jarring. They cut against the grain of a relationship built on decades of goodwill. As the standoff continued, diplomacy carried on behind the scenes. U.S. officials insisted that Ghana must accept deportees. Ghanaian officials quietly pushed back, demanding respect for due process and dignity for its citizens. The negotiations were slow, complicated by shifting administrations in both countries. Under the Biden administration, the tone softened, but the restrictions remained in place for years. During this time, Ghana sought to diversify its partnerships, strengthening ties with China, the European Union, and neighboring African states. But the U.S. relationship could not be ignored. Ghana's diaspora in America remained a vital bridge, and Washington remained a key source of aid, trade, and security cooperation. It was clear that both sides had too much at stake to let the dispute define their relationship. In 2025, after years of quiet diplomacy, the breakthrough finally came. The United States announced that it was reversing its visa restrictions on Ghana. The announcement marked the end of a long and often bitter dispute. It suggested that Ghana had provided the assurances Washington needed on deportations, or that the U.S. had decided that maintaining a dispute with one of Africa's most important allies was no longer worth the cost. For Ghana, the reversal was celebrated as a diplomatic victory. Officials emphasized that the country had stood its ground, defending its dignity while ultimately restoring full relations. For the United States, it was framed as a pragmatic decision, one that strengthened ties at a moment when Africa's geopolitical importance is rising. For ordinary Ghanaians, the reversal carries real meaning. Students can once again pursue scholarships and educational opportunities in the U.S. without the shadow of restrictions. Professionals can seek business visas and work permits with greater confidence. Families separated across borders can travel with fewer anxieties. Perhaps most importantly, it reassures the Ghanaian diaspora in America, a community of hundreds of thousands, that their homeland is not at odds with their adopted country. The bonds of culture, trade, and family remain intact, beyond Ghana. This reversal speaks to a larger truth. The relationship between Africa and the United States is being tested and redefined. For years, African leaders have called for greater respect and equality in their dealings with Western powers. They have pushed back against what they see as heavy-handed policies, whether in trade, aid, or immigration. At the same time, new powers, China, Russia, Turkey, and others, have expanded their presence on the continent, offering African nations alternatives to traditional Western partnerships. In this context, America cannot afford to alienate allies like Ghana. By lifting the visa restrictions, Washington signals that it understands the need for diplomacy based on respect, not coercion. It also reaffirms Ghana's role as a bridge between Africa and the world. The saga of the visa restrictions offers lessons for both countries. For the United States, it is a reminder that immigration disputes, while serious, must be handled with sensitivity when they involve trusted allies. Heavy-handed sanctions risk damaging long-standing partnerships. For Ghana, it is a reminder that standing firm can yield results, but also that global diplomacy requires compromise. Navigating the demands of powerful nations while defending sovereignty is a delicate balance, one that Ghana managed to strike. For both, the ultimate lesson is that their relationship is too important to be derailed by disputes that can be resolved through dialogue. As the dust settles, Ghana and the United States now have a chance to reset. The visa restrictions are gone, but the memory of the dispute lingers. Will both nations use this moment to build a stronger partnership based on respect and shared interests? For Ghanaians, the reversal is a relief. For the diaspora, it is a reassurance. For Africa, it is a signal that even in an unequal world, smaller nations can defend their dignity. The skies between Accra and Washington are open once again, not just for travelers, but for a renewed journey of cooperation. This is more than a policy shift. It is a turning point in a story that continues to unfold. The story of Ghana, America, and the evolving place of Africa in the world. You've been watching Afri Global 24, your window into Africa and the world. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on the latest stories shaping our continent and beyond. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a report. And join the conversation in the comments below. Until next time, this is Afri Global 24, bringing Africa closer to the globe 24 hours a day.